All right, today is the day we do something about this. This ironing board has served me faithfully for many years and she's very lovely, but the space underneath really has become a catch-all for anything and everything, particularly things that I don't have a dedicated home for elsewhere. So I think it's time that we make this more of a usable space under here and give some of these things a home. You might be telling me, well, why don't you just get rid of some things? No, we're not going to do that. We are going to add more things and organize the things we have. That is what I want to do. So fortunately, we had a neighbor who was getting rid of things. She's moving away, and I scored a lovely little dresser thing that is almost exactly the same dimensions as the top of the ironing board here. So we are going to take that, some old boards from back when we were traveling across the country and had a temporary like platform thing in the van. We have some pieces of that, and then I've got some batting that used to be in like a friend's attic, like uncle's garage attic or something. It was covered in spiders, but like on the outside of the bag. I got rid of the bag, kept the batting, which seems to be spider free. I think we're good. So I'm gonna take these and combine them all into a very fancy ironing station. First off, we're going to start with the dresser. It has clearly been very, very well loved by the family that had it before, but this isn't quite to my taste. So we are going to go ahead and sand it back down to remove most of the paint. I'm not going to worry about getting it all the way down to bare wood. This is thin enough that I don't know that it would withstand that process, but we can at least get most of the paint gone, and that'll give me a chance to fix up any of the corners and things that need a little bit of attention and love, and then we can go about repainting it. I'll give you one guess as to what color. Fortunately, we have an orbital sander, so that should make this a fairly quick and painless process. Fingers crossed. Before I do that, I should probably remove all of these lovely little handles. Unfortunately, we are missing 4 of them, so I think I'm also gonna have to replace them with something else, or at the very least, I'll have to replace these bottom ones. And if I'm doing some, I might as well do all, unless I can happen to find an exact match. So I've been sanding away, and I'm sanding more than I necessarily meant to, because the black paint is such a weird sort of gummy, sticky paint as I'm sanding it. It's creating such an incredibly uneven surface. It's definitely more even than when I started, but I keep finding myself really wanting to get rid of the black paint just because it keeps making such little hills, like sticking to itself and making bumps. So I might end up removing more of the black than I originally intended. Now, while the sander wasn't quite working out for me very well with this top layer of black paint, I did want to try another trick I saw online of using a heat gun to kind of soften away the paint and then scrape it down. I already tested out this bottom section here, and it's not perfect, but I do think it is better than the sander. So I'm going to continue playing with that. I really want to avoid using the like chemical stripper stuff. We're going to try to stick with the mechanical methods if we can. The paint removal process is coming along swimmingly. I feel like as I do more and more of it, the better I get at figuring out the techniques to make it go faster, which is excellent. That's actually why I started with the top, by the way. Eventually there's going to be an ironing board on there, so even though I'm going to clear off the old paint and repaint it with the new paint, I still wanted to do that first because that's a good test zone, you know what I mean? Now, what was I saying? Unfortunately, we have hit upon our first repair need situation, which is this guy under here. This is the very bottom. And what I think I'm gonna do is toss down some glue and do some clamping, maybe some nails shot in to help reinforce that. But I think that I'm kind of done sanding for the day. Let's do some repair stuff and then come back to sanding tomorrow. I think I am just about done getting paint off of the body of the dresser here. It's definitely not 100% gone, but I'm hitting about my level of like, you know what, it's good enough, we're fine. So that's what we've got. At the very least, I think that any new paint I get on there should stick pretty dang well, although I'm gonna need to give this a really mighty de-dusting. It's going pretty well. It's been kind of fun switching back and forth between the round sander and using the heat gun and using the different pokey, scrapey tools, kind of depending on what area I'm on. And it's been an adventure, but I think I'm just about done with that on this, and all I've got left is saying hello to all the spiders that keep visiting me and finishing off the dresser fronts, the drawer parts. So I only did 1 layer of primer. I saw some stuff saying I should maybe do 2, but I don't feel like it. So we're not doing that. We're doing it 1 and it'll be fine. We are now primed and it's been drying for 24 hours. I gave it a really quick sand just to help rough up the surface a smidgen. And then we are going to paint on our vaguely this color red paint. All right, let's see what this actually looks like. And we have kind of a burgundy-ish, not quite brick red, but in that general vicinity sort of color. I think this will do. Let's see what it looks like on the actual drawer. Okay, it's kind of like a deep burgundy-ish red. There's definitely some kind of bluish tones in there that's making it read as kind of a cool pink sort of color. Yeah, burgundy, makes sense. I did end up needing to do several layers of paint. It was way too sheer to just do 1. Part of the reason is because I was trying to apply really thin coats so that it wouldn't end up getting bulky in any one particular spot, but that meant that I needed to do several layers to build up to the right opaque level of color I was hoping for. Once I had that all done and gave it a full 24 hours to dry and set completely, I added the different handles both to the top ones that have these single point drawer pulls as well as the bottoms that have the pair pulls. And now we are ready for the topper. This is the portion that I'm going to cover in several layers of batting and some fabric, and it'll be the actual ironing surface. So I've placed it down. I added a couple of clamps to help really keep it in place while I get some drill holes started, because I have these kind of bolt and nut connector bits that I'm hoping will do a pretty good job of making sure that it can hold on to the board and grab it down on, but also make it removable later, because I've read that the batting after a couple of years can get a little and you need to either replace it or add on additional layers. So I'm hoping that this will work as a good, sturdy, but removable solution. Now, one thing is that unfortunately the board is just a smidgen short of the edge, but I'm hoping that with enough layers of batting on top of this, it won't read as shorter than the end here, but I didn't want to go ahead and buy a whole new board when this one is so close to being the right size. It'll just have to do. It's the same size on this end and on that end over there. To cover the topper layer, I laid out several layers of batting, one after another, smoothing each as I went, and then I secured the first edge just by kind of gently pulling it over and using my air-powered staple gun here to staple a bunch of that edge in place, not worrying too much about pulling it tight yet, since there's nothing to pull against yet. But once we've done this first edge and we go to the opposite end, now we can try and pull this nice and taut before stapling that whole edge down. Once that's secure, I cut off all the excess and then got to work on the sides, which I needed to try and make sure I didn't pull too hard either here, just kind of gently back and forth, making sure that it's relatively taut without pulling things completely out of whack. We have a manual staple gun too, but I will say the air-powered one is so much nicer to use. Once I had the whole edge secured down, at least one staple every inch, if not more, I was ready to do a solid trim all the way around, including kind of fussing with the corners to get them to lie as smooth as possible, since there's kind of double the material at those points. Then for the actual cover fabric, I went for this kind of sagey green wool fabric I had. It's got a nice, strong, dense weave, and I feel like will make a good cover that should last a few years. The table's gonna go down right where I had all those holes drilled earlier, and then I pushed the bolts up through the bottom into the board, and I'm just ratcheting them into place. This is so neat how it kind of sucks the board down into it. I would say that the bolt idea worked perfectly. It is nice and held on there, nice and stable, and I don't think I have any worries about it, shifting around. And it's very, very easy to take it right back off and put a new cover if this one gets really gross or old, or if the padding underneath, which I put, I think 9 layers total of very, very thin cotton batting on here. I used up not quite, but almost all of that roll that I showed before. So this should, I think, last me a good long time, but it's even though it's a lot of layers, they're so thin that it doesn't have a huge amount of loft, which I think is good. Like, it's just enough squish, but little enough that I still think it'll be easy to iron on. Which I suppose is our next step here, is to see whether or not it does in fact iron well. I hope it does. It would be a very big bummer if it didn't. I have just the thing to give it that very first test, courtesy of the sponsor of today's video, thredUP. I specifically ordered a whole bunch of linen because it, as you may know, is wrinkly AF. thredUP is an online thrift store where you can give secondhand clothing a second chance, and I love it particularly because you can search for the specific fiber that you're interested in. In the winter, I love to get wool items, and then in the summer, linen is just fantastic. It's been so hot lately, so this is going to be really, really nice to wear. And look at that embroidery. Gosh. I think our iron is prepped and ready, so let's get to ironing. I feel like linen, one of the things that is kind of notorious about it that a lot of people don't love is the fact that it's a wrinkly fabric. That's what it does. It loves to wrinkle. I feel like most of the time I don't bother with ironing it because I don't feel like it, and I like the wrinkling look is kind of nice sometimes, but sometimes you do want to get it nice and smooth, and my old ironing board wasn't very stable. It didn't want to stay up very nicely, so I am so excited that this one is going to not move on me at all. I am more excited for ironing than I think I should be. I'm sure that once I've ironed a bunch of things, the novelty will wear off. I think this might be my favorite of the new bunch. This is a Hope and Harlow, original estimated price of $127, but I got it for about $37, and it's so dang cute. Although I think a close second would be that kind of orangish shirt from Uniqlo. I think it was originally estimated at $51, and I got it for about $28, $29. I don't wear a lot of pants, but I've been seeing a lot of these kind of looser sort of capri summer styles that look very comfy, and I know that I'm going to be doing a lot of squatting and kneeling in the dirt this summer for my gardening, so I figured some pants might be a good move, both by themselves and underdresses. I love layering. I love layering shirts under dresses. I love laying dresses under dresses. I think it's all a very good look, and also pants under dresses. Why not? Although I do feel a little bit like a hobbit about to go on an adventure when I wear the pants and kind of looser shirts, but it's a good vibe. It's a good summer vibe. I think it's so cool how different linen can feel. Like the white embroidered shirt is very crisp and smooth in that fresh linen way, versus the orange pants that have clearly been worn and washed a bunch and are super like buttery soft. It's really neat seeing the kind of differences in linen. This video isn't about linen. The sponsorship isn't even about linen. If you want to dress up as a little hobbit going about your gardening business, or perhaps a District 12 person, then you should check out my thredUP link down below. They put together a page so that you can see what I got and shop for similar items. They have a better than usual discount code right now of 40% off your first purchase rather than just 30. Go check that out. I hope you guys find just what you're looking for and also enjoy the lovely, cool properties of linen. Speaking of the linen, it did iron so beautifully on the new ironing board. I am kind of in love with this thing. I've been wanting to do something like this for years, but I just kind of kept waiting for, honestly, the right furniture to come along, and also just the all right, I should finally do it kind of energy to come up. So I'm glad we are here. It is lovely. It was kind of fun trying to decide what topping fabric to use, because I thought about red, but it's too much red. I thought about black, but the only black fabric I have right now is very staticky. I swear, like, bits of fluff just immediately stick to it every time I look at it. So I was like, I don't want to iron on that. And then this nice kind of sagey green one, I think, is a really good mix of, it should hide my messy bit of fluff tendencies, and I think it really nicely goes with the red and green that's all over the rest of this room. So I'm very pleased. I think that this is the very lovely, fancy new ironing unit that I was hoping it would be. I did consider doing a bunch of fun, cute designs on the front, but I have another project going right now that is a lot of detailed paintwork, so I decided that this should be just nice and simple. The other thing I could do is like maybe a nicer iron setup, like a gravity fed, you know, fancy industrial type iron. But I think that as long as this guy continues to work, I'll probably just keep using this. Maybe if it dies someday, I'll upgrade. But otherwise, the ironing board portion, very upgraded, very lovely. I'm a big fan. And the nice thing about this is that I feel like it's something pretty easy to do, like to DIY yourself at home. Like, I wanted a very specific kind of size profile, but if you're less picky about that, you don't mind it being a little bit more narrow or wide or long or tall or short, you know, whatever you want, then find a piece of furniture that you think will work from any thrift store or, you know, your parents' basement maybe, and toss a board and wrap it in a bunch of fluff, and I like it. I'm a big fan. If you do end up making a lovely ironing table station of your own, let me know, because I want to check it out. I want to see what kind of cool stuff you guys make. You should tag me in whatever your social media platform of choice is so that I can see your cool tables. And you should also order from ThreadUp using my link down below to get some lovely, cool linen items such as the style I got, and get 40% off that first order. All right. I hope you guys have a wonderful, lovely day and have a very lovely summer.